Welcome back to Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet. I'm Kristie.
And I'm Josh. We've got some more great Reddit stories for you today, so let's jump into the first one.
Am I the asshole for not putting a garden gnome on my lawn?
Is this post written by some sort of garden gnome salesman? If you don't buy a garden gnome today, then you're a huge asshole.
Hi, 26 female here. I recently bought my first house in a cute little neighborhood. There's 12 houses on our street. No HOA, no rules about lawn design, only a rule that the roofs cannot be black. Cool, whatever.
Sorry, if there's no HOA, who's telling you what color you have to have your roof? The city, I guess?
Maybe, I don't know. She does not go into more detail about that.
Because black is a crazy color to ban. Maybe it's a regional thing? I'm just very curious about this now.
I think in hotter climates, you don't want a black roof because it gets too hot.
Oh, okay. I mean, this probably has nothing to do with the story, does it?
Nope. My neighbor, we'll call him Mr. Thomas, 65-ish, right across the street has his garden stuffed, and I mean stuffed with garden gnomes. They're everywhere. They climb up the water drain, they're on the porch, on the grass. It's a whole thing. Not my style, but fine.
Wow, that is a lot of gnomes. How do you make them climb the drain? Are there just gnomes that you can buy that have some sort of hook?
Maybe, or like little holes that you can use to zip tie them to the drain.
He's really into the gnome thing.
A little bit too much. I moved in the first week of March, and the day after, Mr. Thomas came to say hello, introduce himself, and bring me a garden gnome as a welcome gift. I thought it was absolutely hideous, but I thanked him and then put it in the shed after he left. The following day, I brought all neighbors some self-made cookies. Mr. Thomas and his wife got some too, and they seemed happy about it. 2 or 3 days later, I was walking my dog, and Mr. Thomas stopped me and asked why I hadn't put the gnome in my front yard. I didn't tell him I hated the gnome, I just told him that I had something else in mind for my garden, which I just hadn't gotten around to yet. True. And the gnome was doing a formidable job guarding my tools in the shed.
I don't know if I'd have admitted that it's in the shed. I might have said I put it in the backyard.
And then he's like, oh, show me where. And you got to be like, take him back and be like, here, it's in the shed.
You're right. Maybe I plan on putting it in the backyard.
Yeah. He got really upset and snappy with me and told me that he's been living on the street for 30 years and every neighbor gets a gnome as a welcome gift and every neighbor puts them up in the front yard. I hadn't really paid it any mind up until that point, but once he mentioned it, I noticed that there was a garden gnome in every front yard. He mentioned how it's a tradition and everybody's got to do it.
That is wild, to decorate everybody's yard in the whole neighborhood with garden gnomes and be mad when somebody doesn't want the garden gnome in their yard.
I asked him if he wanted the gnome back if he didn't like where I put it. He said no, so I just calmly told him that I most likely wasn't going to put the gnome in the front lawn, thanked him for the gift again, wished him a nice day, and left. Ever since, I noticed that a handful of other neighbors have let their gnomes disappear, and now Mr. Thomas hates me.
I'm sorry, did OP accidentally start some sort of gnome rebellion?
Yes, I think she did.
They're like, wait a second. Newbie over there doesn't have her gnome. I thought they were required.
I don't have to have my gnome in my yard.
I hate this gnome.
I get a stink eye every time we spot each other, and my neighbor next door, the sweetest old lady, bless her heart, told me he's apparently complaining about me on the regular.
So that's how everybody else even noticed that there wasn't a gnome. He went and told everyone, probably.
Yeah, he went and told everyone. Can you believe this new neighbor does not appreciate the gnome and she refuses to put it in their front yard? And they're like, that was an option? I'm going to do that. It's really backfired on Mr. Thomas.
It really did. I really want to know more about the gnomes. Are they like the generic red hat, blue coat gnomes? Or are they like fun ones that are like branded or have like college jerseys on?
I don't know. I personally very much hate gnomes. I think they're creepy. And the only gnome statue I've ever seen that I liked was a T-Rex massacring a bunch of garden gnomes.
That would be hilarious, though, if she got the T-Rex and put his gnome in its mouth.
Yeah, she said she was going to take her garden in a different direction. Maybe that's the direction she needs to go. I told my friends this story, and one of them said I should have just put the gnome on the front lawn to make the old man happy. Am I the asshole for not doing so?
I mean, I don't think you're the asshole here. You're allowed to not put a gnome in your front yard if you don't want a gnome.
Yeah, like, I think gnomes are super creepy. I would have been like, I don't think I would have been able to hide my disgust and politely accept that gift. I would have been like, thank you.
I feel like it would have been way funnier if he just randomly had a gnome appear in people's front yards, too.
Yeah, but then they might be like, whose gnome is this, and throw it away. And he doesn't want you to throw away his gnomes, his precious gnomes.
You're right. They all have names and personalities.
Why don't you like Gregory? Why do we always go to Greg as a name?
It's just tradition at this point. Greg was very excited to make a new friend. It's like the elf on the shelf, I just realized.
Oh my goodness.
He's like the grandparents that are getting revenge on their kids.
He's using the gnomes to spy on his neighbors and make sure they are following the neighborhood rules.
You're right. Every gnome has a camera in it. And he just has a view of the inside of your shed. How is he supposed to get dirt?
Top comment. I love that the other gnomes have been disappearing once they saw you take a stand. The idea that this gnome guy has been bullying the whole neighborhood with gnomes for years, and they were just waiting for a hero to come along and free them from the gnomes is so funny. NTA, amazing.
Sorry, I just keep picturing Mr. Thomas doing weird passive-aggressive things with the gnomes. Like, I feel like you're going to wake up one morning and there's going to be a bunch of gnomes in your backyard, like, staging a breakout of the shed. Maybe that's where all the ones in the other yard went. They went to break their friend out. Poor Greg. Greg is the real victim here.
Trapped in a shed, all alone in the dark.
I'm changing my verdict. You're the asshole. You locked Greg in a shed.
You're taking this in a weird direction. NTA, he sounds like a sad, controlling little man and a bully. You have started a revolution. Another comment. NTA, the guy with the gnome decorating obsession needs to keep the gnomes in his own yard. You are not obligated to display it, and I bet some of your neighbors are glad you gave them an out.
I mean, it sounds like they are, because they just ditched their gnomes the second they found out it was an option. Especially because they figured out, wait, if I throw my gnome away right now, all that anger is going to be on OP and not me. OP's a very convenient scapegoat since she moved in.
Someone else comments, put your gnome in his front yard. And then someone replied, she could actually have fun with this and make it a way to bond with the old guy without having any gnomes in her own yard. Go over and move it every few days so it can socialize with all the other gnomes. I'd be tempted to paint its hat and shirt to look like Where's Waldo and make it a sort of little game for the neighbors to discover. Maybe that makes me as weird as the gnome guy. I don't know.
It might make you as weird as the gnome guy, or it just might mean you have way more energy than me, because I don't want to go and hide a gnome every day to entertain an old man.
Nope, I don't got time for that.
Once again, it's like Elf on the Shelf, except you're doing it to entertain a 90-year-old man.
Someone else agrees with us, though. NTA, plot twist, the garden gnomes are spies, and this is how the neighbor monitors everyone. You threw a wrench in his diabolical plans for neighborhood domination. I think that's really funny that someone had the same idea as you.
Yeah, I think that this is just his little gnomish spy network. And Mr. Thomas has a plot to take over the whole neighborhood. He's an evil mastermind.
Okay, but overall, Reddit says not the asshole, and I think most of Reddit does not assume this is some sort of evil plot by Mr. Thomas.
Am I the asshole for eating a croissant in a cemetery?
What, are you afraid you're like going to offend the dead people because you're not sharing your food with them? I don't get this.
Did you bring enough for everybody?
Everybody in the whole cemetery.
Everybody.
Oh, ah, ha, ha.
I had a doctor's appointment today, and they told me not to eat or drink anything before it. Once I got out, I was starving and pretty thirsty. So I went to a supermarket, grabbed a croissant and a bottle of store-brand cola, and went to look for somewhere to sit down. The nearest spot I couldn't find that wasn't directly by a busy road was a cemetery. So I went in, walked to some benches, and sat down. I had almost finished eating when a woman, maybe in her 70s, walked past me and asked who I was visiting if I didn't mind the question. I said I was just eating somewhere quiet, which surprised her. She then told me that I should be ashamed to be so disrespectful and left.
Some old woman telling you shame, shame, shame. That's a little silly, though.
I finished eating and drinking before leaving. I can see where she was coming from, and it's possible she was grieving and looking for solidarity. But also, I was just eating, and it was the closest spot. So, are they the asshole?
No, not the asshole. I don't feel like eating in a cemetery is disrespectful.
Especially because she was just kind of minding her own business on a bench.
Yeah, I was like, it's not like you were like, maybe if you were like littering while you were eating, yeah, that's disrespectful. But clean up after yourself like a responsible adult, and it should be fine.
Do you think that if OP had been there to visit someone and then had a snack on her way out, that the old lady would have a problem with that?
Probably not. I feel like the old lady was like, you don't even have anyone in this cemetery. What are you doing hanging out here? That's so weird. And like, if OP is weird, then I'm weird. I'm probably even weirder because me and my sisters go to cemeteries just to look at the really old headstones and stuff.
Do you really? I did not know this about you.
Yeah, we did this a lot when we were younger, like in high school and stuff. We'd be like visiting family in like rural West Virginia. And we'd be like, let's go to the cemetery and look at all the really old headstones because there's like ancient ones, you know?
That's very golf.
And it's really cool. They have like headstones from the 17 and 1800s and you can see like whole families and you can see that a lot of women died in childbirth and a lot of infants died back then.
Yeah, that's awesome. You had a lot of free time in high school, didn't you?
You know, there's not a whole lot to do in rural West Virginia when you're visiting your great Aunt Midge. So, you know what? You got to find entertainment when you can. Let's go to the cemetery and look at old headstones.
What I really think OP should have done was look that lady dead in the eyes and go, holy shit, you can see me?
They should have. That's a brilliant idea. I love that.
Top comment. Historically, people used to picnic in the cemetery. There is a large cemetery where I live that has some very historic graves, and it is also an arboretum. They have guided tours and marked walking paths on the roads. I just think you met a grumpy old lady.
Yeah, I do feel like, you know, if you had a deceased loved one and you went to visit them, like it wouldn't be weird to like take a little picnic and sit and have lunch with your loved one.
No, and I think the woman that approached OP should honestly be happy that her loved ones are in a nice enough cemetery that somebody feels like they can walk in and just eat a croissant. It's not like a shady, unkempt cemetery. Yeah,
it seems like it's probably a pretty nice one. And like, I feel like having people coming and going is like a nice thing when it comes to a cemetery, right? You don't want it to be lonely and desolate.
Right. I think it just has a nicer atmosphere, in my opinion, I suppose. Somebody else commented, I hope when I'm dead, people come and eat croissants on my grave. That sounds lovely.
It does.
Croissants, specifically.
Croissants. Croissant. Because if when you die, you are tied to your body and you are stuck in the cemetery, that's got to be awfully boring. You got to be super psyched for any visitor. What?
It's such a weird take. It's such a weird take. You're Christian.
Well, I'm just saying. That person was like, I hope when I'm dead, people come and eat on my grave. And I was assuming because she thought she is stuck there and it's nice to have company.
Oh, maybe she's looking down.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. Who knows what happens when you die? Maybe you're tied to your body and you're stuck in the cemetery. Maybe you haunt the house where you lived. Maybe you're not a ghost at all. I don't know. But the thing is, we don't know. So if you happen to be tied to your body and you're stuck in a cemetery, wouldn't you want people to come visit you, even if it's just to eat a croissant?
Maybe you just spend your whole afterlife eating croissants on a bench and then speaking to old people that are visiting. See, I took the gnome thing in a weird direction. I feel like you took this one in a weird direction.
I don't know.
Not the asshole. Very old-fashioned of you to treat a cemetery as a public park. Back in the day, they were a popular spot for picnics. You don't have to have a personal relationship with the dead to be in a place dedicated to remembering them. Somebody else comments, I suppose it may be different in different places, but I'm in Boston, which has the first combination public garden and cemetery in the United States. And cemeteries since then have been usually designed on the same plan. Most cemeteries nowadays are combined dead people storage and public green space. If the one you were at is like that, not the asshole.
Yeah, I also got to say, when I was a little kid, we were always super excited to go to the cemetery and visit Grandpa because they had a gazebo on a pond and there were swans there and we would feed the swans. Let's go see Grandpa and feed the swans! It was great.
Which is a lot of Reddit's opinion on this, too. Like, the older woman was probably grieving and took that out on you a little more than she meant to, but you weren't really breaking any taboos.
Yeah. Hey, if you're enjoying this episode so far, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, it really helps us out, and it lets us know we should keep making fun content like this for you.
My partner's idea of sharing a cinnamon roll. This is from our mildly infuriating.
How do you share a cinnamon roll in a infuriating manner?
I bought a cinnamon roll and brought it over to split with my partner. He asked me if I wanted to warm it up. I replied yes. He complained that the icing would then melt and turn into liquid. I gathered he did not want that. He confirmed. I told him to cut it in half then so he could keep his cream firm. He said okay. This man then went and cut it horizontally instead of down the middle. He was going to give me the bottom half and keep the top half with the icing.
I'm sorry. The only time you're allowed to cut a cinnamon roll in half like that is if you're going to make the best sandwich ever. Because I would eat the hell out of a breakfast sandwich that had a cinnamon roll bun.
Yet you're somehow disgusted by those hamburgers that have donuts as the bun.
Yes, because I assume the breakfast sandwich has bacon or sausage, not a hamburger. That's a very different thing.
He acted like this was completely normal and didn't see an issue with it. I feel like the unspoken rule is you cut it vertically so both people get an equal amount of everything. He said I didn't specify and told him to cut it to preserve the icing. I didn't know I had to specify cutting something vertically to give us both equal pieces. Tell me I'm not crazy.
Nobody cuts a damn cinnamon roll like that. He was either trolling you or he's an alien in disguise. There's absolutely no way anybody would think that that's acceptable. He is trying to get one over on you, right?
I gotta think yes, but I mean, she did say, I want to warm it up. And he said, I don't want to because then the icing will get liquid. And she's like, well, then cut it in half so the icing stays firm. Did he think that meant all the icing is his and it's firm and it's for him?
I think OP just needs to buy 2 cinnamon rolls next time because her boyfriend is not good at sharing. How does he cut pizza?
Here, you have all the dough and I will have the cheese and sauce and pepperoni. Thank you very much.
Yeah, he just scrapes it clean. I'm so fascinated by his stream of logic that I want to hand him various things to cut. Like, what happens if you give him a peanut butter jelly sandwich?
I don't know.
What happens if you give him a burrito? Like, I want to know how he divides things in half.
Now I'm trying to picture the weirdest way to cut a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I just can't come up with anything other than the normal way.
Well, you split it in half, and then you got 1 piece of peanut butter bread and 1 piece of jelly bread. Not even toast, bread.
Top comment, the correct response here is to retract the offer to share and eat the entire thing yourself. Someone replied, or say fine and eat the top, see how he likes the bottom. 100% he will see it as an issue if he has to be the one to get it.
That's true. You didn't specify which half was his, and you bought it, so you get to pick the half. That's the rules.
It's like, I just cannot. Why does he think she doesn't want the icing? Because he thinks liquid icing is disgusting and she wants to warm it up and it would make the icing liquid and so she shouldn't eat that because it's disgusting? What is his reasoning?
This is just like that aggressive sibling sharing logic, like when you offer your brother half of your, donut or something, and you cut it in half, and then you gotta like measure it to make sure you get the bigger half.
We had problems with this in my family where my mom would say split it in half, and someone would try and break it in half unevenly and then take the big half. We had rules to fix that then.
That is a traditional thing to try to get away with when it comes to your siblings.
Yes, that is something that I think everybody tries. But then the parents always stop it and be like, no, one of you cuts and then one of you chooses the piece they want first.
That probably would solve it because that would keep the person cutting it honest.
Yes, and then you're the one who's cutting it and you're trying so hard to make sure they're exactly even. Because you don't want to give your sibling an ounce more of whatever it is you're sharing than you have to.
Well, you were the youngest, so I have to wonder if your older sisters ever pulled one over on you. Like, you know how when you're playing Go Fish or something and you hold out your hand, but one card is higher than all the others and the younger sibling always takes it? I wonder if they got really good at cutting so one half looked bigger.
I don't know, because the one who's cutting is being super careful about the cutting, and then the one who's picking is like sitting there and analyzing each piece and like, I don't know which one. This one looks a little bigger, but this one's got extra sprinkles,
Yeah, I think we can safely say that boyfriend grew up in a house where the person who cuts the treat also gets to pick their half.
But Reddit agrees with that rule that my family had. The unspoken rule of food sharing is that one person cuts and the other person chooses their slice. It avoids this kind of thing from happening.
I guess I was too damn honest as a kid because I'd never learned that rule.
Someone said, your partner is a child. And someone replied, I don't think even a child would have cut the cinnamon roll that way. Okay, I did read another story where they wanted to split a cinnamon roll and he took the center and left her the outside, crusty ring, which is not as good.
That's what I thought he was going to do, honestly. But more importantly, How many cinnamon roll cutting stories did you read this week?
Oh, that other one was a long time ago, but it stuck with me because I was like, what kind of monster would do that and leave their loved one the outer ring of a cinnamon roll? That's not the good part.
It really shows what you think of that other person when you do that, doesn't it?
Yeah, you don't care about them at all. But who knew there were so many unhinged ways to unfairly share a cinnamon roll?
I guess. Sounds like there might be two. Which, honestly, is more than I might have said if you asked me yesterday.
I don't know this man, but I still have too much respect for him to assume he's that unfathomably stupid, so I'm forced to assume malice here. But really, it seems like he's being difficult on purpose for some reason. Does he have issues with food or sharing in other contexts? Does he regularly get petulant about minor things like that? OP replied, "Your comment made me chuckle. He is a bit of a food monster / hoarder." I mean, I am also a food hoarder, and I would never do that to you.
That is good insight that OP just gave us because, like you just said, my spouse is also very food aggressive. And when your significant other is aggressive about food like this, you do decide, well, I guess it's not as important to me, so I'll make sure they always have the bigger half. Or the last piece.
Yes, the last piece. I need to mentally prepare for when the good food is going to be over. And if you take the last piece when I was planning on eating that last piece and suddenly there's no more pieces and I was not mentally prepared for that, there's going to be a meltdown. I'm very sorry that's just how I am.
Just so you know, though, at some point in the near future, I am going to do an unhinged cut on something and just to see your reaction.
No, the one who gets to cut gets to choose second. So I'll get to pick the first piece and I will pick the better one. Those are the rules.
Those are the rules in your old house. We have not established this rule.
Someone else has a little bit of insight I like, though. He asked if OP wanted it heated and then complained when they said yes. Honestly, sounds like boyfriend was trying to be difficult and pick a fight.
I did find it odd that he brought it up and then said, no, I don't like that. But I think that was just him being like, well, she always heats up the cinnamon roll and I always hate it.
Oh, maybe. And this last comment pretty much sums up what Reddit thinks. You're not crazy. This is weird as shit.
Am I wrong for canceling my friend's +1 after I found out who she's bringing to my housewarming?
Ooh, who's she bringing? Your ex-boyfriend? Your ex-fiance? I don't know, but not the asshole. If there's someone you really don't want in your home, they can't bring them as their +1.
I bought my first house this spring after renting forever, and last weekend I had a small housewarming with about 15 people. Nothing fancy, just snacks, drinks, music in the backyard, and people drifting through the kitchen and living room. Because space is still kind of tight with boxes everywhere, I only invited close friends, plus a few partners I already knew. One of my friends, Leela, texted 2 days before and asked if she could bring a +1 because she didn't want to come alone. I said probably yes, assuming it was the guy she's been casually seeing for a couple months. The next afternoon, I was at a garden center with my sister buying herbs for the patio planters when Leela sent me a selfie with her +1. It was my ex, Evan.
Yep. No. You are not bringing my ex to my housewarming party to see my new house. Nope.
Not an old fling, not some random overlap, my actual ex of 4 years.
Whoa, you were with Evan for a long time and now she's like, I'm going to be dating him and bringing him as my +1? No.
The one who used to show up unannounced at my apartment after arguments, and once let himself in with a code I'd forgot I'd ever given him. Leela knows all this. She was the friend who came over with wine the night I changed my locks. I called her right away and thought she'd say it was a stupid joke, but she sounded annoyed and said I was making it weird, because they had reconnected recently, and he was actually being really sweet now. I told her she absolutely could not bring him into my new house, and she said if I had really moved on, seeing him at a party should not matter. I told her this was not a public bar, this was my home, and I am allowed to decide who gets my address and who walks through my front door.
Yeah, and I don't agree with that. If someone treats you horribly, you can move on and still want nothing to do with them.
Oh, you're allowed to hold grudges against your exes forever if you decide to.
Yeah, I mean, like, just because you're still mad at them doesn't mean you haven't moved on, you know?
She didn't come, and now 2 mutual friends say I embarrassed her and treated her like she needed permission to date. I honestly think I just refused to be ambushed in my own living room. Am I wrong?
I mean, I kind of feel like if she's your friend, she does need permission to date your ex.
Your ex of 4 years?
Yes, like if you had just been on a few dates with him or whatever, yeah, whatever. You weren't with him that long. But 4 years, he was a serious partner. And if she's your friend, she gotta okay this with you if she wants to stay your friend.
Especially because Leela knows that OP is still probably openly hostile to Evan.
Yeah, it sounds like it was not a smooth breakup.
No, it sounds like it was the opposite of a smooth breakup.
And then she decides to just text you a photo of her and her +1 instead of just talking to you about it when she asked if she could have a +1. That's weird. Although I am glad that she did, like, give you a heads up instead of just showing up with him at your house.
Yeah, she does have that point in her favor. But why a picture? That seems weird.
No, it seems like taunting almost. Like, hey, look who I'm with, your ex.
Top comment. You're not wrong at all. Bringing your ex to your housewarming without giving you a heads up first is just straight up disrespectful. Especially when she knows the full backstory with the showing up unannounced stuff. The whole, if you really moved on thing is manipulative garbage. This is your house, and you get to decide who comes in. Period. OP replied, that part got me too. If she'd asked me first, still weird. But sending the selfie like, surprise, your ex is outside, was such a wild choice, lol.
Wait, did she text this like right before walking into the party? I thought this was like the day before.
I think it was the day before.
Okay.
Just because she said she was at a hardware store buying herbs, and I assume she wasn't out buying herbs during the party.
Okay, yeah. So she gave her a little bit more heads up than just like right before the party. But it's still so weird to just text a photo of like, I'm with your ex-boyfriend and we're coming to your party.
Yeah, that's a lot to take in from a photo, isn't it? There's a lot of interpretation available there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this person is as much of a friend as you think they are.
Another comment. Not wrong. Absolutely save yourself and cut her off for even thinking it's okay. OP replied, I'm leaning that way. The party thing was one mess, but acting like my address was hers to hand out kind of changed how I see her. The commenter replied to that, it's also the lack of forward thinking. Trying to say someone that shows up to your house after an argument and comes in is suddenly super sweet after she sat there watching you cry and drink? That's not smart. She's just asking for the same thing to happen again, and I guarantee she'd ask you to comfort her. OP replied to that, that's the part I can't shake. She watched how wrecked I was back then, so acting like he's magically safe now feels either naive or really selfish.
Yeah, and I really feel like how someone acts in the middle of a breakup is more of an indicator of who they are as a person and if they're a good person or not than how they act at the beginning of a relationship when they're trying to get you to date them. Because they're putting on their best behavior then, right?
Yeah, they are putting on their best behavior when they're trying to get someone to date them. Or they're being extra manipulative and just using her as a reason to get close to OP again.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Which makes it even more terrifying for OP. I don't want this guy to have my address.
Yeah, no, that doesn't sound good.
Who she dates is her issue, no permission required. How you react to that is entirely your choice. And I'd say disinviting her to your housewarming is the least you should do. She absolutely knew you wouldn't want him there. That's why she didn't use his name when she asked. This person isn't your friend anymore, OP. You're not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, like, you don't need permission to date someone, I guess, unless you want to stay friends with them.
Yeah, you don't need permission, but the other person also doesn't need permission to cut you off fully.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I totally agree with that comment because I kind of feel like this is something you need to discuss and see if your friend is okay with before you start dating their ex.
I mean, I agree with the comment. She does not need permission, but there may be consequences if she does not receive permission.
Yes.
OP replied to that one. That's where I landed too. Date whoever, I don't care. But leaving his name out felt very deliberate. Like she knew the only way this worked was springing it on me. Anyways, though, Reddit is very uniform in their judgment here. You are not wrong. Nobody wants their ex to suddenly have their address like that.
My boyfriend saw an old video of me and was disgusted. How can I get over this?
Ooh, I don't know how you get over that one. That is hurtful.
So my boyfriend, male 25, and I, female 24, have been together for a little over a year. We met at a literary convention last year as I'm an elementary school teacher with a love for reading and he is working towards becoming an English professor. Our relationship is the first truly long-term one I've had and has had no major issues. He is considerate and communicative and extremely affectionate in both words and actions. Even with people he doesn't like, he is always willing to give the benefit of the doubt and avoid saying bad things about them. This is why what happened last week was so shocking to me. For context, I struggled with weight quite a bit growing up. Up until when I was 20, I was always on the heavier side, which greatly impacted my confidence and life experience. During my sophomore year in college, I had a dramatic event occur involving a group of girls and a prank that made me realize just how much my weight impacted how people viewed me and would impact my future. Following that, I lost 100 pounds in 2 years and made some substantial life changes, including a large amount of the people in it. The changes to my appearance also didn't stop with my weight, as during this time, I changed my style, haircut, and color, and the way I did my makeup.
Wow, that is honestly impressive, OP. It is hard to lose that much weight in just 2 years.
All this to say, it was quite a dramatic transformation, so it's not unreasonable for someone to not recognize me. In addition to that, the vast majority of people currently in my life know only the me post-weight loss, and it's not something I advertise. Last week, an old college friend of mine came to stay with me as she was attending a wedding in the area. She was my roommate throughout school, so she had a front row seat to the entirety of the events. Since I don't talk much about my time in college, my boyfriend was extremely interested in hearing her stories. His interest was piqued when she mentioned a dance competition we won early sophomore year. This culminated in her scrolling back through her camera roll to find a video of the performance and showing him. During this, I was finishing cleaning up dinner and only walked out when they were actively watching the video. I saw his face recoil in disgust as she pointed out the section I was in. He asked, "The one next to the humpback?"
Oh no, what?
My friend looked at me in complete shock and concern, and I knew immediately what had happened. She told him no and quickly pulled the phone away. I clarified that the humpback was me and asked him to leave for the night.
Yeah, good OP. That's the correct response.
He immediately looked devastated and started apologizing profusely, saying he had no idea and that he would never speak like that about me. I told him that he just did and said I needed space. He left after more apologizing, and my friend apologized as well, saying she didn't know he would respond that way. I said it was fine, but ended up crying most of the night.
I might cry most of the night too if my significant other insulted me to that extent, whether it was on purpose or not. Maybe, just as an adult, we don't need to call people names based on their weight. Also, I don't know if I looked at a video that I knew my significant other was in the past. I feel like I would realize they're the person who was a little heavier than they are now. How dramatic was OP's change?
Apparently very dramatic. The next morning, he intercepted me on my daily run with flowers and coffee and apologized again, saying I was the most beautiful girl he knew. I said it was fine, but told him to keep the gifts for now since I had to finish my run. I'm pretty thick-skinned when it comes to comments about my body, but something about him saying something like that isn't leaving me. I feel the urge to recoil every time he touches me and haven't been reaching out first for the last week. He's noticed, of course, and apparently brought it up to one of our mutual friends to ask for advice. This friend found an old picture of me through a college acquaintance's Instagram, and it spread through our friend group. I've had multiple of them reaching out to me, saying there was no way he could have known, or that it was a fair response, and I shouldn't be upset since I knew he was into fit girls.
I'm sorry, that was you many years ago. Nobody is just born fit. Also, cut off a lot of those friends. What are they doing spreading a photo of you that you don't want out there?
Yeah, that seems really rude, right? Like, oh my gosh, have you seen how heavy so-and-so used to be? Let me show you a picture.
Yeah, it's just blatantly bullying and body shaming at this point. Like, he's an adult. He should have grown out of the phase where he calls people mean names based on their body.
Yeah, but some people never grow out of that.
Yeah, I guess they don't, but he inadvertently jabbed OP right in her weakest spot. I don't know if she needs to forgive him.
They said I shouldn't be upset since I knew he was into fit girls. I thought he was into me. I told them to stay out of it and asked my boyfriend why he would involve them. He became furious once he found out what they did and started crying, saying he didn't want to lose me and he didn't know what to do. I tried to tell him it was fine, but he told me he knows it's not because I don't look at him like I love him anymore. I don't know. He's a great guy. We're happy. People are allowed to have types. It's just that nothing feels the same anymore. I can't look at him the same. I don't want to lose him either over one small thing. Is there any advice for how I can get over this?
I mean, if OP wants to stay with this guy and he wants to stay with her, I fully support them trying to work through this. I guess the solution is just to talk about it and like just have a really open conversation about why this hurt me so much, because OP had to work for a long time to get where she is. And him calling her a name based on her weight really reawoke a lot of those feelings, it sounds like.
But at the same time, do you think this shows like a character flaw in him? Like, I would be concerned what happens when or if she gets pregnant and her body is going to change. Is he going to suddenly not love her and think she's ugly and a humpback because she's, not so fit anymore?
That would be a very good thing to bring up during the discussion about their future, because you can't just not talk about it, right?
I mean, yeah, there's no way you're going to get over this without talking about it.
Yeah, and not like a that really hurt my feelings level conversation. You need to really dig in and be fully brutally honest with him.
Top comment, I will just point out a couple of things. 1, he exposed how he thinks about women he doesn't find attractive, and that says a lot about his character. 2, I think this is so deep for you because gaining weight is always possible. How is he going to feel and react if you were pregnant, or if something happened and you couldn't keep up on your exercises? Everyone deserves to feel secure in their relationship. His comment stole your security.
Yeah, those are all really good points, and I think OP needs to go into her decision on whether or not she wants to keep this relationship going with the mindset that the correct answer for her might be no, and that sucks.
Someone replied to that comment, yeah, he's only kind to OP because she's the most beautiful girl right now. But none of us stay at peak beauty for more than a few years. Before too long, OP, like everyone else, will have wrinkles, saggy skin, might get stressed at work and gain a few pounds, might get pregnant, and who knows how she'll change or get injured or out of shape. Not only will her boyfriend be unattracted to her in these circumstances, he'd also treat her like an animal. Attraction is one thing, but being mean and disrespectful to every woman you don't want to fuck is dark behavior. I'd run even if I knew I'd magically stay looking 24 forever, because I don't need people like that poisoning my life. That was something I didn't like, where he's like, I would never say that about you. You're the most beautiful woman. I'm like, don't say that to me because I'm a beautiful woman. Say that to me because you like me for who I am, not for how I look.
I didn't catch that. Was his apology looks-based?
He apologized again, saying I was the most beautiful girl he knew.
Oh.
That's not an apology.
No, I didn't hear his apology properly, I guess, because the correct apology for insulting someone's looks is not to compliment their looks now. Like, talk about how much you like her personality, my guy. This is dating 101.
You've just found out that he is one of those people who would have treated you like that group of girls in college did. He would currently treat you that way if you were still overweight. Not wanting to date someone that is overweight is okay, but treating them like they are less than human is not. And calling whoever he thought that was in the picture a humpback is treating them as less than human. He may seem great to you, but he wouldn't be if you were fat. And how would he treat you if you got pregnant? Oh, okay, we're bringing up the pregnancy thing a lot, apparently.
Yeah, and that's like a different category, at least in my head. That's not you gaining weight. That's you carrying our child.
But a lot of women do just like gain extra weight after having a baby, and it's really hard to lose that weight. So like it can like permanently alter your body and suddenly you're overweight a little bit.
That's true. It absolutely can. And that's just a fact of life as you age. But also, based off of what we know about him, I think the other commenters are justified in being concerned that he might not distinguish the difference between, pregnancy weight and normal weight gain.
The reality is you won't ever look at him the same. I'm sorry to say that. He didn't need to say what he did, yet he did. Why the insult? Why not a simple, I don't see OP, where is she? An insult? Why? Even if that wasn't about you, I'm sure you'd feel differently about your boyfriend insulting strangers for no other reason than the fact that they don't fit his ideal aesthetic. That's horrifying to think about. You now know that, God forbid, something happens to you and you no longer look like you do now, that on the surface he'll say one thing, but deep down he'll feel entirely different. Put simply, you know who he is now. Do what you will with that.
Yeah, that's another good point. I mean, he obviously needs to find some way to dig himself out of this hole if he wants to continue the relationship. And spreading it around your friend group, even if you were looking for advice, is not a great step. I mean, it sounds like OP has experience with cutting off friend groups when she needs to.
And that might be the way to go in this instance. Like, I think I might cut off my friend group if they told me that that was a fair response and I shouldn't be upset since I knew he was into fit girls.
Yeah, I think those specific friends are absolutely on the chopping block right now.
I think this comment sums it up pretty well. You can be into fit girls without being a complete jackass to less fit girls.
That is very true. Your preferences on who you date are a different category than how you treat other people.
So Reddit has very low hopes for this relationship. They do not think it's going to work out and think that she should ditch him.
Am I the asshole for drinking the beers I brought to a party, even though it was more than people were allowed to drink?
I mean, unless you got raging drunk, I don't think that's an issue. What do you mean there's an allowed to drink limit at a party?
I, 30s male, am in a graduate program where most of my classmates are either fresh out of college or have had 1 or 2 years since graduating. I was invited to a party by one of my classmates, early to mid-20s male. He said everyone was going to bring a 6-pack of beer, and we would all swap and try each other's. My partner, 30s male, came with me, but he said he didn't want to drink because he wanted to work on something the next morning. My partner and I both chose a 6-pack of beer to bring. Nothing fancy, just 2 types of IPAs. We showed up and hung out and had a good time, I thought. Everyone put their 6-packs on a table, and everyone would just walk up and grab one when they needed another drink. I ended up having 8 beers that night. My partner didn't have any. But then my classmate who invited me got mad because I had 8, and we were only allowed 6 each.
What? But you brought 12. You bring 12, you get 12.
I said that since my partner and I brought 12, it was okay that I drank 8 because my partner didn't drink any. Like, as a couple, we brought more than we drank.
Yes, that makes sense.
But my classmate told me that was bullshit and asked me to pay for the 2 extra beers I drank.
No, you've already paid for 12 beers. What the heck? And you've only drank 8, so he wants you to pay for 14 beers and you only drink 8? This is so weird.
Am I being crazy, or is this whole thing unnecessary?
You are not crazy. Your friend is really weird and like trying to con you out of extra money and beer.
I just want to know who hosts a party and then keeps track of how much every guest is drinking.
Yeah, that's a good point. And like, unless it came up when he was like, I tried these 8 different ones, and said that. And then, hey, you can't have 8. Or was he just keeping track and being like, you hate your 6, you need to stop. That's so weird.
That's a good point. Maybe OP said they tried 8 at some point because I was absolutely imagining the host sitting there like counting.
I don't know if I could keep track of like, okay, Bill has had 3 and Steve over there has had 4 and Sally had 2 and keep track of that the whole night.
If I've had 6 beers, I absolutely cannot keep track of that.
But no, like you and your partner brought 12 beers and it's like you're just drinking your partner's share of the beers because they're not drinking any. This is totally normal. And I don't know why your friend is so upset about it. What do you mean you're only allowed 6?
The only part of this story where I would say that OP is a bit the asshole is that they brought a bunch of IPAs to a party instead of a good beer.
Yeah, you don't like IPAs, do you?
No, they're gross and people need to stop drinking them.
Yeah, I just don't like beer at all. They all taste yucky to me, so I have no opinion on what type of beer is the best.
A nice oatmeal stout.
Yes, I know that's your favorite.
Top comment, not the asshole. First of all, that's a ridiculous level of bean counting for a party set up in this way. Secondly, couples' contributions do count together.
Yes, they do.
But never mind any of that. I would just tell this guy, okay, I don't agree with this, but I'll be the bigger person and give money to whomever ended up short. Oh, and by the way, partner brought 6 and drank 0, so when should he expect to get his money back and from whom?
Yeah, I like that.
If they're gonna get this pedantic about the numbers, I guess the solution is to be that level back.
I think you just pay for the 2 extra beers you drank and then partner takes the 6-pack home as their share.
Yeah, I mean, partner is entitled to 6 beers by this guy's logic.
Maybe he just can't drink tonight because he's the designated driver.
I also want to know who the host expected him to pay. Because
the host.
Yeah, the host, I guess, because everybody brought beers. So does he need to give like $1 to everyone at the party?
Just to whoever ended up short of their beers, right? Which is no one. I think host just wants to get a little bit of money out of you and then keep your 4 extra beers.
You think host was just looking forward to restocking his beer cabinet after this party?
Because how many people do you think are actually going to drink all 6 of their beers?
I mean, it depends on what type of beers everyone's drinking, right? Because if you bring like light junk beers, sure, I can drink 6 of those. If you're bringing, like, some, like, really dark, like, Founders stouts or whatever, maybe I can handle 2. I'm not as good at drinking as I used to be.
Yeah, so I think Host was assuming not everyone would have all 6 of their beers that they brought, and he would get to keep all the extras as a perk of hosting. And now he's upset that you drank 2 of his beers.
Somebody asks, what happened to the remaining 4 beers of the 12 total that you and your partner brought? OP replied, we left before everything was drank, so I don't know. In other words, they're still in that pool.
Yep, and I think they're going to get left there, and Host is going to get to keep them, and that's not fair.
Host wanted free beer. The plan was to keep the leftovers for himself. I used to do this with cookouts. Invite everyone to a cookout. Most people bring more food and drinks than needed, but don't bother to take the extra back. Host eats and drinks free for a week or 2. That person is devious with their cookouts.
I don't know. That seems like a lot of work. I feel like hosting a cookout is a lot of work just to get some extra free food.
Maybe it was just a side benefit of having a party. Another person had a question. I take it it's not a maths graduate program.
No, obviously not. This person can't even do basic algebra.
OP replied, LOL, how could you tell? And in case you can't tell from the comments so far, Reddit thinks not the asshole. The party host is a complete buzzkill, and maybe don't party with them anymore.
Am I the asshole for refusing to eat my wife's spaghetti after I found out what she put in it?
Just from that information, it's either going to be a terrifying story or OP is going to be a very picky eater. Green peppers? You might be the asshole, don't be picky. Dirt! You probably shouldn't eat that spaghetti.
Last night my wife made spaghetti and it smelled amazing. She said she tried something new and wanted me to just eat it before asking questions. I had a few bites and it tasted kind of off, but not terrible, just weirdly sweet and earthy.
So like mushrooms, maybe?
I asked what she changed, and she told me she blended up leftover spaghetti from 6 days ago and mixed it into the sauce to thicken it. I immediately stopped eating. I know it is technically the same ingredients, but the idea of blended old noodles mixed into fresh sauce made me feel sick. She got offended and said I already ate half a plate, so clearly it was fine and I was just being dramatic now that I knew.
Sorry. I think it just clicked in my head that the spaghetti tasted earthy and sweet. Like, maybe it was a bit moldy?
Yeah, moldy would make it taste earthy, right?
Earthy sounds a little moldy. That's why I went mushroom.
I was like, I don't think earthy is a good taste.
It's not necessarily bad, but that's why I went mushroom, because my brain went to fungus.
But no, it's probably mold.
Either way, I don't want it in my spaghetti. Like, if the old spaghetti had been frozen at an appropriate time, it probably wouldn't even affect the flavor, right?
She said I was just being dramatic now that I knew. I told her that is exactly the point. I did not know. If I had known beforehand, I would not have eaten it. She said I was being wasteful and disrespectful and acting like she served me garbage. I ended up making a sandwich because I could not finish it, and she got really upset and barely talked to me for the rest of the night. Now she told her family and they think I embarrassed her. But my mom thinks it's gross and I should not have been tricked into eating it. I feel bad for hurting her feelings, but also I feel like I should get a say in what I'm eating. Am I the asshole?
I mean, you're not the asshole. It sounds like you're not just being a picky eater. It sounds like there may have been something wrong with the spaghetti. I have to wonder, do people normally blend old spaghetti into sauce to thicken it? I feel like you're making the new sauce worse just to save the old sauce.
I feel like, yeah, you're like trying to use up the old spaghetti and ruining the new batch of spaghetti.
Yeah, if you want to thicken the sauce, just add a little bit of flour and eat the old spaghetti separate if you are that set on not wasting that old spaghetti.
6-day old spaghetti, though, that is pushing it.
That is pushing it. I mean, for starters, like, don't you usually keep the sauce in the fridge and then just make fresh spaghetti every couple days? Like, a lot of people don't even like day-old spaghetti.
Yeah, day-old spaghetti's kind of gross in my opinion. I'll eat the sauce, but I want fresh noodles.
See, I'm okay with eating the old noodles for a couple days, but I don't make, like, so many noodles that they can even last for 6 days. I'm going to have 1 plate tomorrow when I don't feel like boiling fresh noodles.
Top comment, NTA, and then they quote, "It tasted kind of off, but not terrible, just weirdly sweet and earthy." You want to know what that earthy taste probably was? Mold. So they agree with us. It was probably moldy and gross.
Yeah, the sweet taste also implies there's something wrong, because unless she just went with a different sauce recipe this time, in theory, it shouldn't change the flavor that much.
Another comment. I don't know if you were acting like she served you up garbage, but if it tasted earthy due to unseen mold, she was serving you garbage. You weren't being wasteful. Moldy food goes in the compost or the garbage. What does a plate of spaghetti and sauce cost in ingredients? $2-ish? So wasteful.
Yeah, I'm all for trying not to waste food, but it is an old plate of spaghetti. Like, that's the most wastable food.
It's cheap, and if it's questionable, just throw it out.
Yeah, don't waste food, but also don't eat spoiled food.
Leftover spaghetti and sauce is generally safe to eat for 3 to 5 days when stored in an airtight container in the refrigerator. For the best quality and safety, especially with meat sauces, it is recommended to consume them within 3 to 4 days. So yeah, that 6 days was really pushing it. She definitely should have done a sniff test at least before she started using that old spaghetti, right?
Or a taste test even, but maybe she did and didn't think there was anything wrong with that flavor. I know I said I will eat an old plate of spaghetti. A fresh plate of noodles with sauce on it is objectively better every time.
Yeah, the noodles can get a little weird when they sit in the fridge.
Yeah, they get a little bit of sogginess to them or something. Like, I'd rather have the ones that are, fresh out of the pot.
And then they're like extra sticky, and you can't twirl them up nice on your fork like when you're eating the spaghetti. I don't know. I don't like the way they are when they're left over.
I do think that I use a lot more Parmesan when I'm eating the leftover spaghetti.
Okay, so not only was this pasta that she ground up and put into the sauce 6 days old, but is she going to serve you this spaghetti and then put it in the fridge for another 6 days?
Oh my god, it's like one of those forever soups.
Yes.
Except the forever soup is constantly boiled so that it's safer.
Yeah, it's still gross, but this I feel is way worse. Okay, one last comment. That sweet earthy taste was probably mold in the old sauce. Clarification. How big is your life insurance policy?
I mean, this is just a girlfriend, right?
No, it's his wife.
Oh, it's his wife, so she is the primary benefactor. Yeah, I mean, she's just gotta have OP become used to eating weird flavored spaghetti, and then it's just a slippery slope from there till her goal is achieved. Am I the asshole for returning my girlfriend's birthday gift?
Oh, I don't know. Did you already give it to her? You can't take it back. That's really rude.
Let me start off by saying I'm not a very affectionate or lovey-dovey person. My girlfriend's birthday was on Wednesday, and we went out for dinner after work, and I gave her her gift beforehand. I just handed it to her and said happy birthday, nothing too elaborate. Dinner was fun, but on the way back, my girlfriend was telling me about how she thought I wasn't being enthusiastic enough, and how it wouldn't kill me to not be so unconcerned. We've talked about this for the umpteenth time, but I got her a gift, a camera that cost like $1,500. I took her to dinner and got her a card, so I told her I didn't know what else she wanted from me.
Okay, that is a very nice gift, but also I do feel like a little enthusiasm, like, yay, it's your birthday, happy birthday, instead of just, here you go, have a birthday present. I feel like a little excitement is called for, right?
A little bit. You should try to play up people's birthdays and not just go through the motions. She got defensive when I said that, and I told her that if she thought I wasn't doing enough, I could take the gift back. She got mad and left the gift, so the next day I returned it.
Okay, being like, well, if you aren't happy with it, if I did, I can take it back. That seems petty. And then actually taking it back and returning it is super petty.
He's a man of his word.
He is, I guess. We'll give him that.
When she texted me, she said she was just mad, and called me an asshole in the messages when I told her I returned it. She left it in the car, so I assumed I could assume she didn't want it. Am I the asshole? She hasn't texted since. Also, we're both 21.
I mean, yeah, I feel like you're kind of the asshole. It wouldn't kill you to be a little enthusiastic about your girlfriend, and then you just ruined her birthday by taking her present back and returning it. I feel like asking for just a little bit of enthusiasm, too, isn't, like, super rude or asking for a whole lot. Like, I don't feel like it's out of line.
I feel like a lot of people on their birthdays just want that acknowledgement more than material things. Especially at 21, when most people can't afford to give their significant other like a $1,500 camera. You just want them to take you out to dinner and be happy that you were born.
Yeah, and 21's like a big birthday, right? You expect a little bit more of a bigger to-do on that day.
Oh, I didn't think about that. They said that they're both 21. Do you think she just turned 21?
Yeah, I think so. Now, I mean, maybe they aren't in the U.S. where it's such a big deal, but if this takes place in the U.S., that is a big deal. You're legally allowed to drink now.
Yeah, that's the go out and party birthday. I didn't even catch that part. I mean, like you said, they might not be in the U.S., but in the U.S., no. You go to a bar, you don't go to a restaurant.
Like, that is one of the biggest birthdays in your adult life. 16 and 21 are the big ones, right?
Well, also 18, because then you get to register for the draft.
Oh, no. I don't like that.
Well, you don't have to.
Okay, good. I'm not doing that.
And then I think, 24 is a big one, because you get kicked off your parents' insurance.
What is it, 26, you're allowed to rent a car?
30, your back starts hurting.
And then 40, you're dead. Oh, no, we're almost dead.
At least your midlife crisis sits in around that point, right? Top comment starts off by quoting OP. Wouldn't kill me to not be so unconcerned. We've talked about this for the umpteenth time. Also, I didn't know what else she wanted from me. She literally told you multiple times you're the asshole. Doesn't matter if the camera was $5,000. She doesn't feel heard or appreciated and understood. She feels like you're just buying her affection. Your response to you not doing what she's asked millions of times was to return her gift. I hope she finds a better boyfriend.
I almost feel like these two people are just not compatible. He said he's not a very affectionate person. And she seems like she needs that affection and wants it. And she's been communicating that to him. And he's just not doing it. And he is not putting the work into the relationship by showing affection for her.
Yeah, that is what most people are seeking in a relationship. They're looking for that emotional support and connection. They're not just looking for a sugar daddy. And it sounds like OP might want to be a sugar daddy.
I mean, yeah, because like from what I'm hearing, does he even like his girlfriend? He just seems to find her kind of annoying. Ugh, she wants affection again. She wants my enthusiasm and excitement on her birthday. This is such a pain in the butt. I'm just taking this camera back. She's not worth it.
Okay, well, OP has an edit to address that, because a lot of people are saying that. Kind of weird people are saying I don't like her because I won't jump up and down because of somebody's birthday. That's just not the type of person I am. That's just doing too much. I don't think that edit helped OP's case.
Is it doing too much? I don't think it is. That is not much to ask for.
I think if it's my significant other's birthday and she asks me to jump up and down, I'll say how high. Because that's not a big ask.
We're going to test that out in a couple weeks, okay?
It's not a big ask. I'll say yes.
You do a lot of ridiculous things for me, I feel like, though.
How is jumping up and down a weird ask? I know that that's not what I know that that's taking it too literally, but that's nothing. And cheering and being like happy that it's their birthday is just the expected that for most people.
I feel like that is just like a basic part of birthdays, right? You get excited for the birthday person.
You're the asshole. The argument was about your girlfriend wanting you to validate her feelings and show more affection and enthusiasm in the relationship. And you immediately jumped to, well, I can take the gift away, as a way of punishing her. And then you didn't even give her a chance to cool down and have a discussion before you did exactly that. No wonder she doesn't feel valued.
How dare you have expectations of me in this relationship? I'm taking back everything I ever gave you.
I just can't imagine returning somebody's birthday gift, even if they left it in my car after we had an argument.
Yeah, you already gave it to her. Even if she forgot it in your car, it's hers. You can't return it.
Not without getting express wording from her, right? Be like, okay, so you don't want it because you left it in my car.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get confirmation from them, that right? Because otherwise you're just being a mean gift taker backerer. And that's not cool.
If you're not affectionate or lovey, why are you in a romantic relationship? Get yourself a sugar baby who likes expensive things without emotional presence, and you'll get all the sex with none of the emotions, which sounds ideal for you. You're the asshole. So
someone agrees with you that he doesn't want a relationship, he wants a sugar baby.
I mean, that comment has 673 upvotes, so a lot of people agree. Somebody replied, the perfect explanation. A sugar baby will be appreciative of the money spent, and that's all OP values because his approach to the relationship sounds transactional from his side. Plus, many people like to say they're not lovey-dovey, etc., but then seek out companionship. For what? Uber compatibility? You can easily find someone to do that who will be more than happy receiving the normal gifts and offerings provided. You're the asshole. Spending money isn't a substitute for being a decent partner. Just ask anyone that had an emotionally checked out parent that tried to buy their love. She told you the umpteenth time what she wants. You don't care, you don't listen, and you have no business being in a relationship. So Reddit is not pulling any punches. They think that OP is very much the asshole.
Yeah, he's not really being a good boyfriend, even if he is spending a lot of money on her.
And this one comment sums up Reddit's opinion pretty well. Congratulations, you are now single.
Yeah, I can see it's at least going in that direction.
If OP does not change course, it is going in that direction.
All right, that's our last story for this episode of Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet.
Hit that subscribe button and we'll see you next time.